Hey everybody, Jeff aka GCurse here. Welcome to another installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. In this installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary, you, me, and everybody else on this small little rock of a planet, we are going to be watching the case from Unsolved Mysteries known as the Crash and Dash Robberies. If you are thinking that this sounds oddly familiar, you would not be wrong, because currently, right now, on our little rock of a planet, we have been dealing with something very similar. That's right, the theft of Pokemon cards. That's right, people are basically using their vehicles to do smash and grab thefts regarding Pokemon cards. That's right, we have literally gone from people doing smash and grab or crash and dash robberies that would involve electronics to Pokemon cards. Go figure. But anyway, we're not talking about Pokemon cards. We are not. We are talking about something else totally. Back in May of 1989, an electronics store was the victim of several robberies. When they decided that they were going to try and use a primitive form of security to capture these security cameras to capture these individuals. By the way, what they did was that they basically, instead of actually being able to afford a security system with elaborate security cameras, what they did was they actually took, and I give them a lot of credit for this. This was actually pretty ingenious. They used a camcorder. They put it on a tripod and they basically just stuck it, pointed it at the front of the store to see what they would find out. See who it was that was trying to rob them and stuff. Little did they realize that this evening it was going to be something different. That's right. The people involved used a vehicle. This is something that's actually pretty common nowadays, but you got to remember back in the 80s or late, mid to late 80s, this was unheard of. Basically, this was unheard of. This took robbery to a whole new level. It took it to a whole new level, and we're going to be finding out about that case right about now.
Looks like the speedometer locked at 80, Sarah. He must have been flying down this street.
Yeah, impact shattered the main support beam. We're lucky no one was inside near the entrance.
I kind of forgot to also mention this. Basically, this is being recorded on the 4th of July, so I do want to say happy 4th of July to everybody in the United States. I hope that you have a safe and happy weekend. Make sure that you spend enough time with your family and friends, and drink responsibly if you do drink. Let me get my headphones on. Bam, got the headphones on. Video is loaded. 3, 2, 1. I love this was early in the run of Unsolved Mysteries. I love the way that the first couple seasons of Unsolved Mysteries I really freaking loved. The whole raw film style, the audio quality. There was just something about those first couple seasons. I would say like seasons 1, 2, and possibly 3. I'll have to go back and check the cases for the third season, but I think especially those first 2 seasons were like the best. Let's go. We got a store to rob. Let's go.
For the past several years, the city of Houston, Texas has experienced a wave of unusual burglaries.
Okay, now I really have to wonder whose smart idea was it to leave the big honking safe like this in the middle of a room? That to me that's basically screaming for somebody to do a big smash and dash. They couldn't even pull a RoboCop. They couldn't even do like what they did in RoboCop. The fast food store, the Minute Mart. They basically had a safe that was covered with like beer cans. They couldn't even do that. They could have put like a plant on top of the safe and maybe a couple plants on the sides of the safe to try and make it camouflage. I'm being sarcastic. But literally, whose idea was it that they would just put the safe right in the middle of the room like that? Oh, that's just inviting That's inviting danger, if you ask me.
These heists soon received the nickname Crash and Dash.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. We gotta go, go, go.
Crooks would make a quick dash away from the scene of the crime and open the safe at their leisure.
I like how the safe that safe looked like a split that could have weighed a couple 100 pounds, and there was just one guy, literally one guy that that secured that safe. I loved how the safe literally went from being on the floor of the building to all of a sudden being secured in the back of the tow truck. Damn, that's some good editing right there. And by the way, this is not me. This is actually the video itself.
This crude style of theft has cost businesses in the Houston area millions of dollars in both stolen goods and property damage. Due to the speed of these robberies, many of the culprits have managed to get away without detection. But last May, police got an unexpected glimpse of a crash and dash robbery in progress.
Well, I mean, if I was a cop, I wouldn't really need, I would kind of already have an idea of what I'm dealing with given the damage to the building itself. A normal person, unless they're like the fucking Incredible Hulk, they're not going to be able to do damage like that to a building, by themselves. They're going to need something. So I'm already kind of guessing, yeah, it's a vehicle. I don't need to see a video that it's a vehicle. I don't need to see that. I already know that it's a vehicle. I need to see the people who's doing it, but I don't need to actually see that as a vehicle because I already kind of figured it was a vehicle.
What kind of warranty do you have on it? Well, this comes with that.
This Houston electronics store had been robbed on 5 different occasions.
At this point, you might as well just hire somebody to literally live inside that store and leave them armed with like a shotgun. Leave them armed with a shotgun. I'm pretty sure it's Texas. I'm pretty sure, back in the 1980s. Here, let's do some research, shall we? Let's do some research. I love doing research. Let's do some research. Okay. Let's see here. How should I ask it? What were the gun laws like in Texas in 1989? Could business be armed for protection? I don't even know if that's the right way to ask it. I'm just asking it. Texas gun laws in 1989 and business armed protection. In 1989, Texas had some of the most permissive gun laws in the U.S., with strong state preemption and few restrictions on private firearm ownership. The state constitution guaranteed the right to keep and bear arms, and the Texas legislature had already begun to relax many of the more restrictive laws passed in the early 20th century. Yeehaw! Anyway, let's see here. Key 1989 gun law context. State permission. Texas law prevented local governments from imposing stricter gun laws on in the state, meaning cities and counties could not ban private gun ownership or carry. No age or ownership restrictions. By the 1980s, Texas had removed most of the age limits and prohibitions on who could own firearms, except for certain federal prohibitions, like felons, people with certain mental health conditions. No registration requirement. Texas did not require firearm registration. God damn, this place sounds awesome back in the 1980s. Anyway, and there was no state level background check for private sales. Concealed carry was allowed in most places for licensed individuals, though the state had not yet passed the 1995 shall issue concealed carry law. Open carry. Okay, here, let's actually just scroll down. Could a business be armed in 1989? Okay, yeah, here. Yes, under Texas law in 1989, a business could legally possess firearms for protection provided the firearms were lawfully owned, not prohibited under federal law. I'm guessing shotguns would be okay. Let's see here. The business owner or employees were lawfully licensed to possess them. and the firearms were stored and used in compliance with state and local laws. No public display of weapons in restricted areas. Okay, here, let's see here. Let's see here. Let's go. Were shotguns permitted for business protection in Texas in 1989? Let's see here. Shotgun use for business in 1989. Texas did not prohibit. Awesome, they did not prohibit shotgun use for business protection. Okay, so then we basically have it all right there. I'm not going to read all of this, but it does basically say that it was not prohibited. It was not prohibited. So going back to what I was originally talking about regarding this case, at this point, this poor business owner, he literally should have just hired somebody to come in like at 9 p.m. when the business closes and goes, okay, Jerry, you're hired. We will see you back. We will see you at 8 a.m. The shotgun is in the back next to the cot. If anybody starts trying to break in, use the shotgun. First, show it to the criminals. Show it to the criminals. Tell them that you're armed. Point to the various signs on the building here that basically says, looters will be shot. And then, if they continue to try and break in, shoot them in the knees. Okay. But yeah, so basically, back in 1989 in Houston, they could have actually technically used firearms for protecting their business.
They decided to fight back.
Okay, Bob. Set it up right here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get as much of the front of the store as possible.
We set up a video recorder in our store to watch the front of the store during.
I love the ingenuity that they have. That they had. Did I say had? I thought I said had. I love the ingenuity that they basically showed here. Back then, security cameras were not as prevalent like they are now. I swear to God, you cannot literally walk outside and scratch your balls without, a video camera catching you. You'll go outside, go to do a quick scratch, and you look up and you see a camera recording. You're like, oh shit, It's something like that. But it wasn't like that back in the 1980s. It just was not like that. Granted, there were some stores and big time drug dealers that would have security cameras. Scarface. Anyway. But back then, security cameras were not that big, so people had to do what they could with what they had. So I give them credit for trying to do this. Sadly, putting a camera out like that, or having security cameras in general, it does not act as a full deterrent when the criminals do not care.
The hours that we weren't open, and remoted the signal to a hidden VCR where we would videotape it. The idea in this store proved a success on May the 31st of 1989.
That night, at approximately 11:30 p.m., two men drove by the front window in what was later determined to be a stolen car.
Oh my God, really? Who would have thought that criminals would have done something criminal in commission of a crime? Who would have thought that they would have stolen a vehicle? Don't you just miss the old days when criminals had honor and that they would actually use their vehicles in the commission of crime? I miss those days. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen.
2 minutes after their drive-by, the pair returned on foot to case the store.
To those who don't know, that is not aware of how the production of Unsolved Mysteries went when it came to these earlier seasons. A lot of these people that we see here, these actors, were not like they were not like seasoned actors. Some of these people were literally just like people who lived in the area. That is how raw it was for Unsolved Mysteries during those first couple seasons. They would literally just hire any and everybody. And I love you could literally tell sometimes who the people who just did this for a quick buck are. I'm not saying that in like in a bad way, but you could just tell that the way that they act and everything, they were not professional actors. Yeah, we got some stuff we're gonna break into.
The two men were recorded by the store's video equipment. They apparently noticed the camera and boldly waved.
And like I said, even though security cameras do a good thing by identifying them, if you're expecting a security camera to act as a deterrent to stop them from doing it, if they don't fear the law and they don't fear consequences, they don't care. They will basically taunt you like they did. They waved at the camera. They had no fear of the laws.
As the video kept recording, the two men casually sauntered away. 5 minutes later, they returned.
It's not bad enough that, like if they simply broke the glass, like say they use a baseball bat or a hammer or something to break the glass, that'd be one thing. But the damage is like it's like a multiplier. Instead of just paying to replace like a single piece of glass, now they have to literally hire, like, I'm not sure what the correct term is, like possibly like somebody in the construction business or whatever. I'm not sure what the correct term would be, but they would have to hire somebody to not just fix, replace a glass, but also do like a check of that entire area that the car went through to see what kind of structural damage there is.
While his accomplice looted the store, one thief ran to steal the incriminating video camera.
It's possible the suspect that stole the camera might have thought that he was protecting himself by stealing the camera, but since we were videotaping elsewhere in the store, we had the necessary evidence to turn over to the police department.
Imagine the reaction on these criminals' faces if all of a sudden they broke through, they flooded into the store, and all of a sudden you had, like I said, a nighttime employee with a shotgun coming out, just guns a-blazing, a kapow, 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 kapow. Because you would have to think that this is, this should be allowed, defense, that they are literally invading a store at this point. They broke a wall in, basically, and they're now attempting to steal what's in the store. You would think that, defense of property, would be justified at this point.
With the pictures, we're able to have something to look for instead of a bunch of scraped paint and maybe a broken tire. We're able to get a conviction with the camera because of the picture. It's hard to discount your face being on a picture.
Oh, that criminals, that they will actually play that wasn't me card. Well, how do you explain you being on that camera right there in that picture? That wasn't me. Oh, really? You're the guy with the saggy man tits, the guy with the big double D's running in a white shirt, but you're saying that's not you. Yeah, that's not me. That's not me. They will deny if possible.
The video gives us a clear look at the burglar that stole the camera. He appears to be of Hispanic descent, with dark hair and dark eyes. His height is somewhere between 5'5" and 5'7", and his approximate age range is 18 to 21. His accomplice is harder to identify, but also looks Hispanic, and seems to be about the same age and height, but with a slimmer build. Besides hidden cameras, there are other ways the stores can fight.
I'm sorry, Robert. But that camera wasn't hidden. And I know I'm being a little bit facetious. I think that's the right term. I know he's talking about in general, but in this case here, if the criminals look at the camera and wave, the camera's not hidden well enough. But then again, like I said, this is 1989, and back then technology is not as refined as it is now. Here, I got something a coworker gave me a few years ago. I have this little alien figure here. Cameras are so small now that you could probably put a camera in the eye of this little alien figure. That's how advanced technology has advanced. But you got to remember, back in the 1980s, you could not get a camera that was smaller than, let's say, any smaller than this big jug I have here. Cameras were enormous back then. So basically, yeah, it's almost impossible to try and hide a camera that, back in the 1980s.
Back. Some stores are putting burglar bars on windows, installing cement blocks on the sidewalk, and using roll-down steel shutters. Obstacles that will get in the way of the crashers. If you have any information on the 2 individuals featured in the video, or know of any other crash and dash practitioners, please contact the Houston Police Department or your local law enforcement agency.
Okay, so basically, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that Robert Stack said that I do want to kind of talk about, I kind of want to talk about how he mentioned the use of like shutters, to protect your store. And normally, to a normal person, that would actually be a pretty good deterrent. But I have actually seen Pokemon theft videos where people actually had shutters, but they would use like bigger vehicles. I think they used like a U-Haul or something, where they literally damaged the shutter and they were still able to get into the store. So, granted, back in the 1980s and 1990s, shutters would be a good thing, but nowadays we're just getting so determined to break and enter that shutter. You need to have something more extreme at this point. Like I said, they really should pass, gun permission laws when it comes to like protecting your business. Like I said, hire an overnight person. Hire an overnight person. Have visible signs. Breaking and entering is subject to death. Literal. It needs to say that. You breaking and you entering at night, you risk up getting shot. You need to literally be 2 steps above the severity of whatever the criminals do. Criminals break a window, use pepper spray to scare them off. Criminals use a knife to threaten to kill you. You bring out a handgun. A criminal wants to fucking use a car to bash in your front door and damage the wall and everything. Use a shotgun and start spraying and praying when they start coming in. You have to be worse than the criminals. If you are not more extreme with your tactics than the criminals, they will walk all over you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new to this series, I just want to say, thank you for making it this far into the video. This is the portion of the video where I go to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki and I look up to see if there's been any updates to the case that has not been presented on the televised airing of the case. So let's get to that right now, shall we? Okay, so here we are at the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki. And basically, this is where I'm going to go and I'll read, like I said, I'll read the case or read the, look for updates and whatnot. So here, let's do this. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so we have the Crash and Dash Robberies. The real name is unknown. The aliases, I like that. They had to put something down for aliases. They had to put something down, ladies and gentlemen. Their alias is known as Crash and Dash Robbers. They are wanted for robbery. They have been missing since May 31st, 1989. So as of that, let's see here. 89 to 99, 99 to 2009, 2009 to 19. So about 37 years, give or take. My math may be off a little bit. My math is not mathing right now. Anyway. Okay, here, okay, we already know the case details, so we will kind of scroll down. Extra notes. This case first was featured on, sorry, let me restart. This case was featured as a part of the November 22nd, 1989 episode. Results. Unresolved. The statute of limitations has since run out on these crimes. It is believed that these men are no longer wanted. See, this is something that I would actually change if I ran this country. Statute of limitations should not run out. The logic being, I would want to instill the most fear possible upon a criminal. If they think that they can wait, 5, 6, 7 years, let's see here. Let's do some research. What was the statute of limitations in Texas 1989 for theft? In 1989, Texas law for theft, same general structures. Okay, it had a 2-year. Okay, so I'm not sure. Well, let's see. It says misdemeanor theft. It was 2 years. Does it say? Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, let's see. Well, let's just go with the 2-year. Just basically 2 years for misdemeanor theft. I'm not sure what it was for something else. But going back to what I was talking about, though, basically, the whole logic would be to install so much fear in the person that they think, oh, I can get off, in a couple years. They won't do anything wrong. In my country, in the perfect justice system, it would not go away. The moment they decided to crash that vehicle into the building and start stealing the stuff, that basically started the clock. There would be no expiration. If they got caught in 2026 for those crimes, they would still be tried to the fullest extent of the law. I think that's why criminals are kind of emboldened, because of the fact that they can literally commit these crimes, and if they just lay low for long enough, they can pop their head out of the hole like a gopher, and basically, they won't face any repercussions. But if they realize, oh shit, we're not going to get off after a couple years, maybe it would prevent them from thinking the way that they already do. It'd be like that. It would be like a preemptive strike, basically. But yeah, so sadly the case has been unresolved and it will never be solved. Like I said right here, the statute of limitations have run out. Those people could literally walk down Main Street in Houston and go, hey, you remember that electronics store back in 1989, where people crashed a vehicle into and they stole the stuff? That was me, and you can't do anything about it. They could literally do that at this point. But that's just me. That's the ranting of a 45-year-old individual who just does not view, criminals in the best of light, I guess you could say. It is now time for the episode information. Basically, this is where I return back to the Unsolved Mysteries Wiki, and I look at the information about the episode that this case is part of, and I give you my thoughts about some of the cases that was attached to this episode. So let's do this. There we go. So this was actually recorded in November, or it was aired on November 22nd, 1989. This is episode number 37 overall in their in the list of episodes. This is actually part of season 2. And to be honest, this episode, to me, looking at the cases that we have here, this episode just kind of lacked a little bit of spice. To me, a perfect episode of Unsolved Mysteries has a wide variety of case types, and it shouldn't really kind of repeat the same case type. But sadly, this episode does that. So we'll start off with the cases, though. First off, we have the mysterious death of Sonny Liston. Basically, Sonny Liston, he was a boxer. He was a boxer, and I think if I remember correctly, the lore, basically, I think he lost his championship to Muhammad Ali, and then he kind of became a little bit depressed. But then he got reacquainted with his boxing coach, and he decided to get back into boxing, and he was actually getting ready to do another major push, to get the championship again. He was going through a lot of the practices and everything. And apparently he worked his way back up to being number 1, I think they said it was. Well, sadly he died. And the popular belief is that he had a meeting with some mobsters, and they wanted him to throw the fight. He refused, and because of him refusing to throw the fight, basically they killed him for that. We have an update to the lost. I'm guessing this is a Lost Loves case of Billy and Joey Rogers. Let's see. I don't know much about this, but this was these are Lost Brothers. It was a Lost Brothers case. This was based in Locust Grove, Oklahoma, and the date was June 1960. I don't really know much about that one. I'm going to cover all of these cases in the future. It's just a matter of time. Next up, we have the Lost Loves case of Bill and Cynthia Zielinski. Basically, Bill and Cynthia, they adopted a girl who was abused by her birth father, if I remember correctly. Her birth father would even use the belt that she gave him for his birthday. He used the belt against her, sadly. She wanted to find Bill and Cynthia to basically say thank you. And I am, if it's the case I think it is, I am glad to say that she actually did find the Zielinskis. Up next, we have another case I'm not that well versed of. It is the case of Elizabeth Campbell. I did a quick review, or a quick, surface look before I started recording. And basically, this is about a lady who disappeared. I think she was going to college, but she disappeared, and people are looking for her. And then finally, we have the case of the Crash and Dash Robberies, and that is a wanted case. Like I said, to me, a good episode should have a variety of cases. I think it needs one mandatory case of this type, either a ghost case, a UFO case, or a murder case. Now we kind of have that with Sunny Liston, but we still have 2 Lost Loves cases. I think that they could have moved one of those Lost Loves cases to another episode that did not have one, and then fill it in with a ghost case or a UFO case or something. It just needs that well-rounded variety, in my opinion, for it to be a good episode. It's not a bad episode at all. I've seen bad episodes. I have seen bad episodes of Unsolved Mysteries, and this right here, this is not one of them. It's just, I think it had a little bit more variety. But overall, it's still a good episode. The Sunny Liston case is actually a very good, good way to, kind of get, it's a good ear puller, I guess you could say. It's a good way to get your attention. Bill and Cynthia Zielinski is a nice, heartfelt story. And the Crash and Dash, I like to think of Crash and Dash as a way to kind of gauge how much crime has evolved over the years, and how much the attempts to stop the crimes have also changed with the change of times. But yeah, so that was the episode information for the Crash and Dash Robberies. And when I come back, it'll be with, my parting thoughts, I guess you could say. Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching that hour. That is right. Another installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary is in the books. This case, this is what is considered to be lost media, which means that this case is not available for any of the common streaming platforms that Unsolved Mysteries is part of. And this is one reason I like to kind of focus a little bit on these older cases, because even though the statute of limitations has run out, to me, the crime has not been, the people have not been identified. They may say, well, statute of limitations is passed, but to me, the crime's still there. The victims still had to pay, out of pocket for what those people did, even though they may have insurance, they still end up having to pay for it. You have to pay for it with higher prices for the things that you buy. But we are at the end of another installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. And like I said, I love these lost media videos because it really goes to show, like, it shows how much things have changed regarding how Unsolved Mysteries would do, would record and produce their show. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, I just want to say thank you. I recently started a new project. Hold on, let me make sure it's all good. Okay. I recently started a new project, and that is basically I am uploading the lost media to my YouTube channel. I call it the Unsolved Mysteries Lost Media Legacy Collection. And these are the cases that you do not find, like I said, find on streaming. You can find it in this playlist. I will put the playlist in the description also. That way, you can be kept up to date. And so and these videos here that you see in this playlist, they do not have any commentary. It is literally just the case itself. So if you're wanting to find some famous lost media, I guess you could say, this is where you'll find it. A person did have a good observation. Some of these cases you find here may be available in the Dennis Farina, airing of that Unsolved Mysteries. When I say lost media, I kind of mean Robert Stack. I mean the Robert Stack era. Sometimes you may find these in the Dennis Farina, and if you find it there and you like it, hey, that's cool. I just want to get all the stuff out for everybody to see, though. So like I said, if you are curious about some of these lost media cases, you can find it in this playlist. I also try to do messages on my my channel postings, so always check that out. And let's see what else is there. Oh yeah, these videos, I have a unique time that these get uploaded. I like to upload these and have them published at midnight every day. So if you're expecting this to release, like say at 3 in the afternoon, nope. These are special, ladies and gentlemen. Midnight is when they come out. And I already posted the list for the next week's installments, or next week's uploads, basically. Okay, so with that said, that leaves the next question. What case are you doing next, Jeff? What case are you going to be giving your thoughts of? And I'm glad you asked, because coming up, ladies and gentlemen, I have the case of Loretta Myers. Basically, Loretta Myers, she was an elderly lady who started to sadly develop Alzheimer's disease. Her memory started to fail her, and she found herself having issues remembering how things were. Just like the criminals that were covered in the Crash and Dash robbery, a criminal, to me, he's a criminal. I'm not sure exactly what his role was, but it definitely was problematic. Loretta Myers met another individual, and I personally feel that this guy took advantage of Loretta Myers. Thankfully, Loretta Myers' family, they were actually able to locate her, and shortly after locating her, it sounds like that Loretta and her husband ended up getting a divorce. I basically think that the guy that married Loretta knew that she was not in a good place, and he basically decided to try and take advantage of this elderly lady. But that is what you can expect in the next installment of Unsolved Mysteries Commentary. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to back on now, and I will see you next time. I hope you all have a great 4th of July, and I will see you for the next installment. My name is Jeff, aka GCurse. Wishing you all a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Peace out.